If those positions get addressed, this entire team looks 10 times better. This entire team will be a playoffs team if we have good play at the line of scrimmage. What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to be talking about the Miami Dolphins' top 5 needs coming into this 2020 NFL offseason. Need number 5, that's going to be cornerbacks. The Miami Dolphins cornerback situation is pretty rough. You're looking at guys like Jamal Wiltz, Nick Needham, we're looking at Ryan Lewis, Ken Webster, Nate Brooks. These are the guys who are taking the field right now to defend the wide receivers on the opposite team. Now we've got guys like Aqib Talib on the team, but he's not going to be on the team next year. I don't think anybody really expects that. And then you also have a player like Xavier Howard, who is a huge question mark at this point in his career. He's extremely talented. He was an All-Pro a couple years ago, and he has all the tools in the world to be one of the best cornerbacks in the league. The guy is just a head case. He's gotten arrested and charged for domestic violence, and that's something that the NFL, as of late, has really been cracking down on and taking pretty seriously. So we'll see what happens with Xavier Howard. It's kind of a question whether he's even going to be on the team next year. So the Dolphins might cut him, they might trade him, and the NFL is going to do its own investigation. He might not even be eligible to play come the start of the 2020 season. Now, what are the Dolphins going to do to address the cornerback position? They could go for guys in the draft. We've got Jeff Okudah, you've got Christian Fulton, Trayvon Diggs. We also have free agents. You've got Byron Jones, you've got Logan Ryan. Those guys are coming out into free agency looking for contracts, and the Dolphins have a ton of money to spend. And it's even a question mark if Xavier Howard is going to be on the field this coming year. So to bring a cornerback in to play that number 1 position potentially is an important thing for the Dolphins if they want success on that defensive secondary in the future. Need number 4 for this Miami Dolphins team. This was a really tough one. I wasn't sure where to put this, and I think a lot of people are going to be confused or disagree with my take on this, but need number 4 is quarterback. The Dolphins need quarterback coming into this offseason, but I don't think that it is number 1 or number 2, not even number 3 on their needs. I think quarterback is a position that right now the Dolphins have some depth. They have Ryan Fitzpatrick, who obviously is not the long-term answer. He's 37 years old. He had a good season for Miami last year, and he really did bring that spark and that fire to win football games last year for the team. But he's clearly not the future of this Miami Dolphins team. However, we do have somebody like Josh Rosen. We have a young quarterback who clearly is talented, who is extremely cheap right now. We're only paying him $2 million a year, and we have him for the next 2 years. I think that quarterback is a definite need for the Dolphins, but at the same time, they kind of have quarterbacks that can produce for the next 3 to 4 years. I don't see why the Dolphins would go out and pick anybody up in free agency. That really wouldn't make any sense to me, considering we have Ryan Fitzpatrick under contract, and everybody in free agency that you would pick up is going to be about his age and with his experience. So you already have one of those guys on your team, you may as well just use him. And in terms of the draft, there are talented quarterbacks available, but at the same time, part of me would like to see what Josh Rosen can do behind a solid offensive line and some weapons on the offensive side of the ball. So quarterback is a need, but I think that the Dolphins have some answers at the quarterback position right now. All right, need number 3 is a huge need on this team. Our running game last year was some of the worst that I've ever seen in my time ever watching football, and produced some of the worst rushing seasons in NFL history. When Ryan Fitzpatrick is your rushing leader for the team, it's not a good sign for the future of this team in the running game. So the Dolphins need to go out and pursue a running back to be the answer for this team. Whether it's Derrick Henry in free agency, there's Austin Eckler, there's a handful of guys in free agency who can come in and produce come day 1 of them being on the team. And you also have really talented young guys in this draft that we can take a little bit later on. I don't think that the first running back is going to come off the board until right around the Dolphins' final pick in the first round, and then that's when the avalanche is going to start of running backs being taken off the board. But if the Dolphins can find a way to pick up a solid running back in the 2nd round, you've got plenty of talent. There are guys like DeAndre Swift, Jonathan Taylor, J.K. Dobbins who are coming out of this draft who probably won't be taken until a little bit later on, and that's a big benefit to the Dolphins because all 3 of those guys are extremely talented. And that's what I love about this offseason coming in to the running game for the Miami Dolphins. They can pick someone up solid in free agency. They could pick up someone in the draft who's going to produce day 1. It's really kind of an open field for the Dolphins to do whatever they want, and I'm actually pretty excited to see what they're going to do to address this running game. Need number 2, a top 2 need for this Miami Dolphins team coming into the offseason is the edge rushing position. What the Dolphins need is someone to get after the quarterback. They need to bring someone in whose only job is to get after the quarterback, get some sacks, get some pressure on the quarterback, make him step out of the pocket. That's what the Dolphins need on this defense more than anything, and it's so clear. Their top sack leader on this team last year was Taco Charlton. Taco Charlton was a cut from the Cowboys. They didn't even want him anymore. Now, he was a first-round talent coming out a few years ago, but he didn't produce anything in Dallas. They cut him, we pick him up, and he sacked the quarterback 5 times last year. That's your leading pass rusher. That's a huge concern for this Dolphins team. Because aside from him, you've got guys like Sam McGuavin, who sacked, I think, maybe 3 times he sacked the quarterback. You've got guys like John Jenkins, who started to produce a little bit later, but I think he only produced 2 sacks. So, and then you have Vince Beagle, but he's more of an interior linebacker, and he came up the middle and he sacked the quarterback a couple times. But we don't have any like bona fide pass rushers on this team. And that's what we need. And unfortunately, guys like Charles Harris, that's what he was supposed to be, and he's just been a bust. So he's not gonna produce anything for this Dolphins team. But that's what we need. We need another young Cam Wake. We need another Charles Harris potential kind of guy, Deion Jordan potential kind of guy. Now, the Deion Jordan and Charles Harris picks, I actually don't think were bad picks. They were smart. And a lot of teams wanted these guys because they look like the top pass rushers in college football. So when we picked them, they were good picks. They just didn't pan out. You can't guarantee a superstar out of every first round pick you have. So the Dolphins need to address their edge rush. That's what they have to do. And again, I feel like there's a pretty considerable amount of options here coming into free agency. In free agency, you have guys like Shaquille Barrett, who had a monster season this last year. 19.5 sacks. He was a beast. You have guys like Dante Fowler Jr., who is coming off of a good year, but he still has some question marks in terms of his production. What can he do consistently throughout the NFL season? Maybe they can pick him up on a budget contract. We don't really know. There's also guys like Kyle Van Noy. He's kind of a do-it-all, jack-of-all-trades guy for this New England Patriots defense, and he also is kind of used to that defensive scheme with Brian Flores. They have a connection, so I feel like that might benefit the Dolphins if they take a look at him. And there's a million other guys just like this coming into this free agency. It's actually a pretty deep edge rushing free agency class, so there's a lot of options for the Dolphins to pick someone up if that's what they want to do. And there's also a decent amount of options coming into the draft. Obviously, Chase Young's not going to be on the board by the time the Dolphins' 5th pick rolls around. That's never going to happen. But you also have guys like AJ Epineza, who's going to be available. Julian Okwara from Notre Dame. He's a good option. He can produce. You have guys like K'Lavon Chaisson coming out. He's solid and he's got raw talent. There's plenty of guys in this draft coming up that can produce something out of the gate for the Dolphins as soon as the season starts. If we get some edge rush, it's going to make this defense that much better. All right, here we go. Number 1 need for the Miami Dolphins. I don't think it's going to be a surprise to anybody. It's our offensive line. The Miami Dolphins offensive line in the 2019 season was by far the worst offensive line I have ever seen since I've been watching football. When your quarterback comes out of a game having the dirtiest jersey, that's a huge red flag for an offense. Your quarterback needs to be clean. He needs to have a clean pocket. Give him 4 seconds, 5 seconds. If a quarterback in the NFL can have that kind of time, they're going to be able to get some throws off. Unfortunately, that just wasn't the case for any quarterback stepping behind this offensive line for the Dolphins. It needs to be fixed. Now, I feel like, again, there's another opportunity for the Dolphins to address this position with a lot of depth coming into free agency and the NFL draft. Jack Conklin is my top free agency priority if I'm the Dolphins on this offensive line. He is exactly what I need to be going after, and I would offer him a monster contract if that's what I need to do to get him onto this football team. I can't remember the last NFL draft that I've seen with this many first-round talent offensive linemen. It's such a deep class for tackle right now with guys like Andrew Thomas, Jedrick Wills, Tristan Wirfs, Mekhi Becton, Josh Jones, Austin Jack. The list goes on. There's so many guys who could come onto a Dolphins team and produce, and that's what we need. If the Dolphins are able to pick up a couple of solid free agents and have a good draft for their offensive line, this offense will transform. Addressing the offensive line has to be the Miami Dolphins' number 1 need in this free agency and draft period. I'm a firm believer in focusing on your trenches, build your offensive and defensive lines, and watch your team produce good football. So let's review the top 5 real quick. Number 5 is going to be your cornerbacks. We need to address our cornerback position. There's just not enough production to hold up against good receivers in this NFL. Number 4 is quarterback. A lot of people probably disagree with the placement of that, but I believe that we have enough depth in the quarterback position right now to produce something coming into the next couple of years for this Dolphins team. Number 3 is running back. Historically poor performance from this entire running back squad, and we need to get something to help this team get a rushing game together, make the quarterbacks look better, just make this offense better as a whole. Number 2 and number 1, I feel like you can almost put them as 1A, 1B. They're extremely important positions on the football field. The most important in my mind, that's edge rush and offensive line. If those positions get addressed, this entire team looks 10 times better. This entire team will be a playoffs team if we have good play at the line of scrimmage. So that's gonna be the top 5 needs for the Miami Dolphins coming into this free agency and draft period. I'd love to know what you guys think, so leave me a comment down below. Let me know if you agree or disagree with my takes on all this. Let me know what you would like the Miami Dolphins to address. If you want them to take quarterback first, let me know. If you think that, they should take a cornerback instead, or if you think that they should take a position that's not on this list, let me know, and we'll talk about it. So thank you so much for watching. I appreciate the support, guys. Don't forget to like and subscribe, help the channel grow. Hit the bell notification so that you can know when we're letting out videos every time we do. Thanks a lot for watching. Have a great night, everybody, and as always, fins up.